Of course, our guy Jaydon Hibbert is a very special athlete to us, and we all watched yesterday as he was unable to take that jump. But we know it's just the beginning of what we hope and believe is going to be a long and successful career for him. Coach, just your thoughts overall on how things have gone for Jaydon this season, and again, your emotions on how things turned out last night.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that question, especially talking about the season as a whole. I mean, just an unbelievable year for Jaydon. As a freshman in college and a young man that embarked upon transition and change to the university and a new setting and all that stuff. He just did an unbelievably good job. And then you look at the results that he had through the year and the records that he set, the world under 20 records, the indoors and outdoors, the NCAA records that he set, and just an unbelievable year across the board. And him and I talked a lot, and I complimented him on this, just watching him grow in terms of his maturity and how he handles things, and in both good times and bad, has just been it's been amazing. And I think he's done extremely well this year overall.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Got some reports on his discussions throughout the live yesterday post event, and it's amazing that someone with his age and limited international experience would be able to take it so well, take it on the chin, right? And you mentioned this transition and how impressive that was. What do you attribute to that transition? Is it his personality? Is it the program at Arkansas? What do you think it is that helped him to transition so well into the collegiate system?
Yeah, I think he has he has a terrific support system in his corner, both back home in Jamaica with his family, and coaches there, and the mentorship there, and then also a terrific support system at Arkansas. Not just myself, but other coaches on staff, and strength coach and nutritionist, and our athletic trainer Nicole and Anthony, and Matt Clark. I mean, just a whole team of people that pour into him. And but the compliment to him with that is that he's coachable, and he takes these things in, and he learns and he grows as he moves along. And one thing is, he was and you had mentioned it, navigating the emotions of last night. I was with him, obviously trackside, but then he had to go back through the mix zone by himself, in exiting. And I reminded him on the terrific year that he's had, and to hold his head high. He needs to be proud of everything that he's accomplished this year. And with that, I'm extremely proud of him and how he managed the emotions of that moment, because, he is, young in the sport, but he knows he belongs, and it takes a level of maturity. And I thought in the most difficult of times, he showed that he belongs on this stage.
Yeah, take us through that process. Was he feeling something before? Because that's kind of what I heard, that during the qualifiers there was a little bit of twitch, no? But what happened on the day? What was that process? What were the deliberations like?
Yeah, no, there was nothing with his hamstring in the qualifying. He felt some slight cramping in his calf muscles, which has been a thing this year, a couple of times. So there was nothing with the hamstring at all. But he felt in the warm-ups, in the qualifying, he felt like his calves were a little twitchy and cramping a little bit. So we tried to, create a plan, and we did create a plan that he followed extremely well, in terms of just increasing his sodium intake, heading into the final. Obviously hydration is extremely important. He pays attention to that, and he did a good job with the hydration and the electrolytes and all of that. And so the cramping was not a thing in his warm-up for the final. His warm-up was phenomenal. I mean, it was on. It was very much on. And no, so this was out of the blue. This was not something that we had been previously, dealing with or anticipated in any way at all.
Yeah, and in terms of your process, what was the considerations, when it became time to make a decision on whether or not he was going to try, throughout the rounds.
Yeah. He, again, he had a terrific warm up, and in that first attempt, I was excited. And, he hit his mid mark and was maybe slightly ahead of his mid mark, by just, 10 centimeters or so. But he steers really well, so I wasn't worried about that. And I was really, when he hit that mid, I'm like, oh, it's on. I thought it was just going to be a monster jump, but right at takeoff, he felt something in his hamstring. He said he felt like it grabbed a little bit, and then obviously bailed on the jump, as you saw. And so when he came back, he said that it grabbed. And so then, obviously we're hoping for the best in that scenario, and hoping it's just a cramp and we can get it to release a little bit. And so we went through what we needed to try to do to get it to release. There's only so much medical attention that's allowed in the moment, in the stadium. You can't have any, personal athletic trainer out there. And so there's very, very little that really be done other than just some, manual therapy, massage, the cross ball, things like that. Some active release type of stuff. He did that, and he was, trying to get himself ready to take the second jump. I was keeping an eye on where he was at in the order. And, in a final, you can't jump out of order. Everything stays in order. If it was a preliminary, it might be a different story, but in the final, you can't. And so then I was just trying to keep an eye on who was up and how far, he was in the rotation. And then it became obvious he couldn't take his second jump. And so I'm like, you got to go past your second jump, officially pass it, not your third, just pass your second. And we're still waiting for the event medical to get out there. And then they got out, they worked on him. And then I told him, going into the third jump, I said, you can't test this on the runway. This can't be an emotional decision. We got to deal with the information that we have. And I said, so we have to test it on the side over here. And so I'm like, try to do another run out. And there was about 5, it was back at the top of the rotation. And then I saw Will Clay was on deck, which he was 3 out at that point. And then he did a stride and he moved a little bit better. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, man. I go, we got to do one more, but this time you got to push. You got to try to push. And if there's any pain, Jaydon, we can't do this. And he obviously wanted to jump, but he tried to push, and there was pain that didn't allow him to go full speed. And it was at that point I told him he needed to go past his third jump.
Yeah. And what were your emotions at that point?
I tell the athletes all the time that we can't make emotional decisions. We got to deal with the information we have and make educated decisions with, the information at that point in time. So I was trying very hard to make educated decisions. And it wasn't until afterwards, mostly, to be honest, I understand the moment, but I also grasp a bigger picture for this young man. And I feel a sense of responsibility for him to always keep a bigger picture in mind. And I believe fully that it was the right call for him to pass that third jump. It wasn't easy, but I do believe it was the right decision for him long term. And it wasn't until afterwards that the emotions hit me personally. And it was tough, but the kid's tough, and he's handling it extremely well. And when he went through that mix zone, he held his head high, and he was proud, and he should be, of everything that he's accomplished. And more than anything else, I'm proud of him. And I'm proud of him for a lot of reasons, not just his achievements this year, but from his growth. And I'm proud of him for how he handled an extremely difficult moment. And then the other thing that I'm proud of is how he communicated so effectively in a difficult moment. It'd be easy for any athlete just to be quiet and get emotional and or try too hard or whatever. He communicated effectively exactly what he was feeling. And that allowed us, both myself, our athletic trainer, it allowed us to make an educated decision in the moment. And, my hat's off to Jaydon and his effective communication, because ultimately that led in us making the right decision.
All right, so I realize there are a few others in the group. Now I'm going to allow them to come in after this question. Just coach, for you, what is your outlook on Jaydon? Of course, big year next year, big year the year after that as well. So many opportunities for him, clearly. But what is your outlook?
Well, I think there's obviously a bright future ahead. There's a lot of things. I think one thing right now, we have to make sure that we do the right thing. He's going to get treatment today. We have great medical support that's here. And we're starting the treatment right now. To go back a little bit, it is a grade 1 hamstring strain. We got the imaging last night. There's a small amount of swelling, but it's not a major injury, which is a great thing. And so we'll do the things necessary to make sure that the healing process starts correctly. The other thing we're going to do is try to troubleshoot. There was no indication that there was going to be an issue yesterday. He was moving well. The warm-up was great. There was no cramping in his calves. There was no issues at all. So what we need to do is go back and assess and get information. We need to do a sweat test, see how he sweats and what electrolytes and nutrients are being lost in his sweat. So we need to know those answers. We need to do some labs in terms of blood work and see if there's any deficiencies that we're missing. We do labs and we stay on top of those things, but we need to do labs post or during rigorous exercise. See if there's a calcium deficiency. See what, if anything, led to this. And then we build for next year with a better plan in place to make sure that he continues to train well and stay healthy. And then we look for more exciting things, obviously leading to through the NCAA season and into the Olympic Games next year.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Anyone else with a question for Coach Travis? Coach, any other thoughts you have that you wanted to pass on? Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, and Paul. Go ahead, Paul.
What was his initial reaction after all the assessment and everything? How did he react?
His initial reaction after passing the third jump?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. After the injury and then the third jump, what was the series of, how did he, what did he say? Did he react? All that?
Well, he was just explaining what he felt. He said he felt it grab, not necessarily pop, but he felt it grab. And so he was just communicating more than anything else how he felt as he was trying to prepare for the next jump. And so my questions kept pertaining to, how do you feel? Does it feel tight? Is it pulsating? When you push, where do you feel it? Do you feel more in the acceleration or when you bring your knee up? So we could just make assessments on the right decision. So the communication was all about what he was feeling. Then after passing the third jump, you could see the emotions hit him a little bit. And but that's when he, it's cliche, but he pulled himself up by the bootstraps and he held his head high and realized it was a tremendous season to be proud of. And afterwards, after getting through the mix zone, he was okay. He was okay. He's disappointed, obviously. In the moment going into the second, third jump, I think it was the most difficult because he's so proud of where he's from. Wanted to jump for his country. But it wasn't in the cards last night. And so he tried. And, I applaud the effort. But then after that third jump, it hit him a little bit, but that's when he decided, I'm going to hold my head up and I'm going to get through this and be better from it. And he's a strong young man of faith, and he understands that greater is ahead.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Anyone else with a question? Any other comments from you, Coach, on what lies ahead for Jaydon after this experience at Worlds?
Yeah. I'm just extremely proud of him, through the entire season. Like I had said before, I'm really impressed by his preparation coming into this meet. He had some opportunities, obviously in Monaco earlier in the year in a bigger meet, and pretty nervous going into that one, but got through that and competed extremely well there. And in his preparation, both physically and mentally coming into this meet, we're top notch. We're absolutely top notch. He was ready. Not just physically, but mentally, he was ready. And these opportunities this year, this opportunity to be here and go through what it takes to prepare for this and see it and know the logistics and the difficulties of a major world championships, it's invaluable for his future. And he navigated it all extremely well. Again, not just physically, but mentally, he was ready to go. And, I just applaud that, and I'm excited for the future because of that. The last thing I would like to say, and I talked to Jaydon this morning, he's doing well. He and myself and our staff and his whole support system really appreciate the outpouring of positive comments, for Jaydon. Obviously the event last night didn't end the way we wanted it to, and it was unfortunate, but overwhelmingly, the feedback that he's received from everyone, in Jamaica and Arkansas community, globally, track and field fans across the world, it's been extremely positive. And I just, I know on behalf of Jaydon and all of us that we really appreciate that outpouring of support.
Thank you very much. And for the folks that joined us a little bit late, I've recorded this, so I'll put my email in the chat here shortly. And if you need a copy of that, just send me a note and I'll forward that over to you. Thank you again for everybody joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.